any questions you might have in chat, and also helping us with a few activities that we're going to be doing today. So the aims of the session are we are going to share some ideas on how we can make external visits work and implement them into our long-term planning. We're going to discuss how we can use a creative approach to encourage student conversation and deeper thinking. And we're also going to try and make some transferable links clear so that we can build confidence in the young people that we work with and also raise their aspirations. And so, like I said, I'm Gemma Roach, and I work at NCFE as a quality assurance lead, but I do have a background in education as well. So what I would like you to do firstly, Charmaine's just going to drop a link into the Jamboard. I would like you, please, to consider these questions that are on the screen. So what are the benefits of planning external visits, do you think? Can you give an example of a positive experience? And also, what challenges can external visits bring? So if, Charmaine, have you dropped the link into the chat there?
It's there right now.
Amazing. So you can see there are 3 different Jamboards. Are you going to do a little demo?
Shall I share? Yeah, shall I share my screen for the Jamboard? Okay. So I double check. Can you see my Jamboard, Gemma?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right then. So on Jamboard, if you haven't used Jamboard before, so you can see up here at the top, I can see loads of you have joined. We've got anonymous alligator, anonymous ferret. Pleased to meet you. So I can see everybody currently is on sheet 1. Okay, and these questions, to move backwards and forwards through the questions, we've got sheet 1 here. What are the benefits of planning external visits? Haha, somebody's found the pen. The next question's on sheet 2, and the next question's on sheet 3. So you can choose the question you want to answer, or if you're speedy, you can answer all 3. You can draw with a pen, or you can do what this person's done. Put a sticky note. If you don't know how to do sticky notes, you just click there, add your sticky note, add your text, save it, and then obviously I'm going to want to delete this. Let's move people's stuff around. I'm going to make this a bit bigger because I can't see that very well. And I'm going to delete this like that. So now I've given the demo. Do you want me to keep it on my screen but I'll let you talk, Gemma.
Yeah. So there's the first 3 slides there. So there was the benefits of planning external visits. So there's some really good ones coming up there. So building relationships, working collaboratively. The second one is a positive experience. And the third one are challenges. So we've got a few on there already, which I'm going to hope to address in this session. So we've already got risk assessments that we've got to fill in, the cost, massive issue, and also staffing. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes. You don't have to answer all of them, but just your initial thoughts on those 3, or 1, if you just want to answer 1, would be great. I'll give you until 8 minutes past.
And with some of these, you might, oh, look, there's tons more on this slide now. Yeah, you might want to elaborate. You can be specific. You don't need to give names or anything. So this one, I'm very curious to know. A great visit that was genuinely delighted with the standard of work produced. I don't know about you, Gemma, but I'm really keen to know what was that visit. You can edit it. You can go to the 3 ellipses at the top of any of them and just click edit, and then you can add. Or if things don't fit in a text box, you can actually add if things don't fit in a sticky note, you can add a text box as well, and just make any notes there.
Thank you. A couple of minutes left on that. Really like that one, learn from industry experts. I wonder which industry experts you're referring to there, because we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. I think that's really important for young people, isn't it? Some really nice positive experiences in there as well. Taking learners for a forest school experience, how fantastic. It motivated learners, experiences learners wouldn't have had otherwise. Yeah, so that this session is all about that, is what can we bring to the young people that we work with? Different things that they might not have noticed or known about in their everyday life.
Can I just clarify something? Because I've just spotted something, and I do remember seeing some when sort of people's hopes for the session. So when it comes to external visits, what we're meaning is taking our learners on external visits. Because this comment here, I wasn't sure if this comment here refers to like having an external quality assurance visit, which is a
Yeah.
completely different thing and is not the topic of today's session at all. I'm right, aren't I, Gemma?
Yeah, yes, this is all about taking young people to somewhere, so taking them out on a visit, so the challenges that we can face with that, how we can plan for that, how we can convince our senior team that that's the right thing to do. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing those things. I've gone through some positives already, and I'm also looking at the challenges, so you can flick through the Jamboard as well to see if anything resonates with you as well. So in challenges, we've got things like staffing, internal policies, cover, encouraging learners to go out of their comfort zone, cost. They're all things that I'm hoping that we can address in this session. It is a very short session, it is just an hour, but I'm hoping that we can touch on some of those points today. So thank you so much for sharing. Share my PowerPoint with you again. Okay, so thank you for doing that. So I just want to give you a little bit of background. So currently I do work in quality assurance, but I have got over 15 years experience in working in secondary schools. And I just want to give you a little bit of background of where I'm coming from. So I just wanted to share the research that I developed as part of my developing teacher research and practice postgrad, and that I completed with Leeds University a couple of years ago. And hopefully the research that I'm going to present here can inspire you to embrace the power of external visits on learning, and also to use this information to get backing from your senior team, because I noticed some of the challenges that you brought up there are some of the issues as to why we don't feel comfortable or have the time even to take young people outside of where they would normally learn. So I worked in secondary education for over 15 years, and I could see the positive impact of working with outside agencies and community groups in and outside the classroom, so bringing people into the classroom as well. I could see that it highly benefited young people I worked with and also their families as well. So following the research I completed, I was asked to contribute to the Art Now report, which there's a link in this PowerPoint, which you will get after this session. And I was asked to speak to the all-party parliamentary group to support the levelling up agenda on how embedding external visits into the academy curriculum could also raise the profile of cultural venues within the local community, but could also improve the lives of young people. I've included a case study here. I've come from an arts background, so I was head of faculty for the creative arts, but all of the projects I'm going to talk about today are cross-curricular, and that's how I got so much backing from my senior team, because I worked across the Academy Trust. It wasn't, and within the community, it wasn't just within the arts. So I'm going to briefly cover how you can collate data to feedback to your senior team to get back in for these visits, and because I know that that can be a barrier. So I've got a case study on the screen there, which was really successful, which is written about in this report. So it was about developing literacy and oracy skills, which is obviously a huge focus for everybody really in education. And it also led to me delivering training for the staff as well on to be confident within with taking young people outside of school or college. This is a report that inspired me. So quite often, if I wanted to go out on an external visit, I would get lots of kind of research and case studies and things, and go to my senior team and say, "Have you seen this data?" This is this is the data that inspired me to do this project a few years ago. So it is from 2016, I think, but it was just so I live in Newcastle and I taught in Sunderland, but it's using case studies that are relevant to the time, and the young people that you're working with are so powerful, because your senior team can't always say, you know, they can't turn around and say, "Oh, well, I disagree with that," because it's written in black and white. So I wanted to try and address the disparity in achievement between the North and the South through using external visits. Another thing as well, if you're thinking about getting back in for an external visit and you're not quite sure how to pitch it, I'm not sure how much kind of sway you have in terms of writing the aims for your department or your curriculum, but what I did when I was writing the curriculum for the year was I looked at the aims of my department, but I also got the members of my team to do this as well, and I came up with specific aims of what I wanted to achieve. So for example, I wanted to focus on cultural capital. I wanted to focus on careers. I wanted the young people that I work with to be proud of where they were from, so they felt comfortable going to different venues within the northeast where they lived. I wanted to work with families and outside agencies, and I wanted to develop resilience with the young people that I worked with. What I would just like you to think about now, and just to post in the chat over the next minute or so, what are your aims? Like what would you aim to do within your curriculum? Like what would you want the young people to be and experience? So if you wouldn't mind just putting in the chat something that you aim for over the next academic year for your young people. Just give you 2 minutes to do that.
Can you see the chat coming through, or would you like me to read it for you, Gemma?
I can see it coming through. Yeah, I was just putting the question in the chat there. So what are your aims for the young people that you work with over the next year? Thank you. Yeah, so things like leaving their studies with next steps planned. Yeah, being in a connection between maths and their daily lives. Yeah, so kind of seeing the link of how important education is to their life. Feeling enthusiastic and safe in their learning. Yeah. Having trust in education again. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you for those comments. They really resonate with me too. I'm glad we're on the same page with that one. So I just wanted in this session to share some adaptable ways that you like things that you could take away from this session, which you could alter for your own subject to get back in for projects. So thinking about when you're embedding things into your curriculum planning, it's all about how can you collate evidence. And personally, the way I got back in for projects was to do really quick like surveys with the young people. So thinking about what the aims were for the academy, and then creating some really quick like QR code things so that the students can like give the feedback. So for example, I wanted to understand why they thought art was important to study at school. So for example, on there it says that it helps them to identify fake news. So helps with their mental health, teaches them resilience, prepare for a creative career, encourage pride in our work. So it's not necessarily just an arts set of skills that they're developing, it's across the board. Also improving visual literacy for me was a huge focus. And you can see there, these are all exam papers from different subjects. So it was important for me, for the young people, to develop their visual literacy for their other subjects as well. So not only for their own life when they're on social media, when they leave school, but also within school for their exams as well. So it's just thinking about really sitting and planning, right, what is this trip actually going to, or what is this external visit going to actually bring for the young person that I'm working with, and documenting that with data so that you can go to your senior team and say, can I have some money? Can I have some time out? Can I have some cover for this? And working with the more people you get from different subjects, the more likely you are to kind of get it okayed and get the backing for it. Another really great resource is this book here. So for those of you who haven't read it, everything I did as part of my postgrad was linked to Ken Robinson's Creative Schools. I'm going to talk through later a project that I did inspired by this, and where I wanted to demonstrate the 8 competencies of creative schools. So if you look at those aspects on there, so developing curiosity in young people, collaboration, compassion, composure, who doesn't want to develop that in their young people? So this is an excellent book for anyone that's interested. It is just so inspiring, and it gives you really practical ways in how you can embed these things into your planning to include working with the community a lot more. Also, another idea that you could possibly think about, really easy and quick cross-curricular, is taking the students to a library or an archive. So there's just some data there again when I was talking about collecting data to get back in for projects. I accessed a lot of the school that I worked in had almost 60% disadvantaged students. So we got some additional money for disadvantaged students. So what I was able to do was go to my senior team with this data and say that 53% of students felt like they couldn't work at home and they couldn't research at home due to lack of space, lack of internet, lack of supplies. Can I please access some of the disadvantaged student money to take them on a bus to the library? And they 64% of them said that visiting the archive helped them with their ideas. So just something as little as taking them out to a library. Quite straightforward, something that hopefully you could think about. Right. I would like you to do a little activity. Now, after this session, you're going to get a pack with takeaway resources that hopefully you could use. I think the best training is always when you can go away with something that you can actually use and just take away and use really quickly. So this activity here is really quick. It can be adapted to any cultural venue, more or less. So I've used this with primary school children, A-level grown-ups. So I would like you to take part, please. We have a Jamboard as well for this. So it is slide 4. Okay. So I would like you all to imagine that you are in a museum space or a gallery space, and these 4 images are up on the wall. I would like you to pick a word off that list, and I would like you to associate it with one of the images. So this is all about developing visual literacy and articulation in young people. So I would like you to pick an image and pick a word that goes with that image. Once you've done that, can you then please add 5 words that go with that one word that you've associated with that, and post it in the Jamboard, please. Oh, 3, explosive. So for that one, so 3, explosive, what other words would you link with it? Would you link with that image? So explosive, plane, fire. On the same post-it, if you can try and write 5 words including the first word that you picked. Anyone struggling with the Jamboard? Okay, so the idea behind this one is when you go into a gallery space, and this works anywhere, it can work in a museum or wherever really, as long as there's like images around. I would have like a bag of words all like folded up, and you get the students to pick a word out of the bag and then go and stand next to the image that they would link to that word. So it gets people talking, and the people who aren't confident in talking, they've got a word in the hand, so you can still see that they're engaging with vocabulary. So you would get them to walk over to an image, they've got a word, you ask them to add 4 more words to that. So for the WAM image, someone's put there explosive, which is one of the words on the screen. Then they've added danger, loud, noise, superhero. And then you would ask the young person to put that into a sentence, and then they're engaging with the space around them. So it's a really, really quick way of getting them to engage with what's there. So this would work really well if you went to a museum as well, to get young people to understand what they can see. So analysing sources, like in history, and just to get them to really engage with what's there. And you can obviously scaffold it depending on the ability of the young people that you're with as well. So that's one really quick thing that you can do in a gallery. To embed this, so when I was teaching lessons as well as within the gallery, I would use this worksheet, which will be in the pack as well that we send out to you. So it's just trying to encourage discussion and debate. So I call this the jump in sheet. So there's different things on there where we encourage people to jump into the image. So when you're developing visual literacy and articulation in young people, it's quite often when I used to ask young people to talk about what they could see and what it meant to them, they didn't really know how to do it or where to start. So I would ask them to jump into the space and jump in and kind of look around. So the first thing I would ask them to do was come up with 5 keywords. So what you guys just did there. So they could talk about the colours, what they can see, how they're feeling, etc. What happened before or after to that person that they can see. The Roy Lichtenstein image, quite often the students would just absolutely love engaging with that because of a bit when it says what sounds could you hear, and they'd all pretend to be a plane, and they would be able to smell fire, and then they'd start talking about what they learned in history, because this is taken from the First World War imagery, Second World War, sorry. Yes, it's just something that you may want to look at a little bit more and try out. I've printed these out and taken them into galleries, but also used them in school as well to make them confident in talking while they're outside. Another really quick activity is printing out speech bubbles or thought bubbles to take into the gallery, so the young people can go up to an image and write what they think the person's saying or thinking, and they can talk to each other across the space and make the characters interact with each other as well. So just like really quick and fun way to get them engaging in the space that they're in. Does anyone have any questions about anything we've just talked about there? Or any comments?
There's no questions coming through, but we have had some examples. So for the number 3 image, explosive, big, bang, loud, shock, hurt. It's very good.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. Okay, so what I would like you to do now, I've talked at you for quite a bit and I've given you a few different ideas. So what I would like you to think about and just spend 5 minutes just writing down some notes is to think about what we've covered so far. So obviously I'm coming from the to this from a creative background, but I did engage with different subjects as part of the external visits that I planned. But I would just like you to kind of think ahead to next year and just to note down some ideas on how you can adapt what I've just talked about there to some external visits that you might be planning, or some external visits that you would like to plan and you're not quite sure how to do it. So thinking about, I've just put some screenshots of the PowerPoint slides there, but you can kind of go back and forward to what I've just talked about in the PowerPoint there. So when you're planning your ideas, think about the aims that you want for your young people, maybe the aims of the college that you're in or the academy trust that you're in. Could you take young people to a library or an archive to do some research instead of researching on the computers or out of books or on their phone, or and could you link that to another visit? So quite often I would take them to the library and then just take them on like a photography walk around Newcastle to photograph all of the amazing architecture. Could you do the activity somewhere local to you that's really easy to get to, where you think of some words that link to the image to develop visual literacy? Could you use the jump-in sheet with the 5 keywords? Could you use the speech bubble activity anywhere? So just spending 5 minutes or so noting down some initial ideas that have jumped into your head of what you could do over the next year. That would be really nice for you to share, please. Please pop in the chat if you've got any questions. Thank you.
And also in the chat, we've got, I like it, this is similar to what we've got in the Jamboard actually, where we've got initial feelings / final feelings sheet to measure impact. And I don't know if it's the same person who's put the emoji sheet way of doing that. So that's a similar thing. And then Helen's popped in, developing evaluative skills, seeing or looking at something from the perspective of someone else to broaden their awareness or understanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so talking about the 8 competencies of a creative curriculum that Ken Robinson talks about, it's developing that compassion and collaboration and citizenship as well.
Oh, I like this one because maths is my specialism. Identifying shapes and angles used in structures and architecture over the ages.
I haven't actually put this training, but a photo challenge is always a good one to do when you're out on a trip. There's loads of things on Pinterest if you have a look to get young people to really look about at the surroundings. I think that would be really good for that one from a maths perspective. Scavenger hunt, I like that one. Oh, that's a good idea. Link into construction with energy efficiency in newer buildings. How can we make our school or college more efficient? That's really interesting, actually. I never thought of that before.
And some other good ideas about like recreating something that learner felt bonded with, exploring expectations before and after the visits. Yeah, loads of opportunities to explore equality, diversity and inclusion, EDI.
Yeah, I think the key thing is, and with any trip that I've wanted to do really is that I've thought about what I want to do, what I want the young people to do, then I've kind of tried to embed into kind of what the aims of what our senior team are looking for. So that's why I included that slide there where it's like in that circle, that is what our academy trust, every single curriculum area had that same circle, and I had to adapt that to the arts curriculum. So it's really important to you decide what you want to do, and then you try to fit it into what they want as well. So it's like kind of can't say no when you go and ask for money, or you ask for some time out, or yeah. Some really excellent ideas on there. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm just going to give you another 30 seconds to add anything. Like that one as well, linking to English and literacy skills, having a bank of words to choose from. Instead of words as well, I've done it where I've given them photographs or colours, and they've linked that to what they can see around them, and then it's actually a little bit more tricky for them to describe how it links together. So for example, one student had a picture of like an orange flower, and then they linked that to a painting of fire. Was just thinking of different ways of trying to get the young people to engage with something that's in the hand, with the things that are around them. Yeah, building confidence to speak out their sentence. I like that one. Real maths, give them simple maths, real world puzzles. I love that idea. Brilliant. Thank you so much for your feedback on that. That's really excellent. Thank you. Brilliant. Okay, thank you so much for that. I got lots of ideas from there too. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a quick run through of a project that encompasses all of the things that I explored just previously, to give you an example. So the most important part of this session for me is that I wanted you to take away something that you think would be beneficial to the young people that you work with. So even if you can take away one thing where you think that's going to benefit them, then I'm happy. So I just wanted to share this project where I kind of try to have the biggest impact. So it was kind of the end of the course I was doing at uni, and I just wanted to try and kind of encompass Ken Robinson's 8 competencies and all of these things that I believed about essential skills and careers, and how I wanted young people to be when they left education. So I was secondary, so obviously I wanted to them to leave being happy, confident, resilient, all of the things you guys have just spoke about there. So I decided to have a focus group, and that was all linked to the academy that I was in at the time, their focus. So that kind of helped me get time out. It helped me apply for funding that was there, and because I just linked everything back to the whole school curriculum project plan. So that I could measure it as well, to say like I've had an impact on the young people's lives by doing these external visits. So my focus group got some data. It's 20% high ability, 45% disadvantaged students, 45% of them study photography, which is obviously the creative link. 40% of them had emotional support in school, so whether that was with a school counsellor, or they had like a link that where they could go and to get extra support in school. 38% of them didn't think studying a creative subject would help them in their career. So I really wanted to prove to them that they were really creative and they could get transferable skills from studying with me and my team. And I wanted to demonstrate the Gatsby benchmarks, so the really clear career links. So the Gatsby benchmarks are defined as a world-class careers provision in education. So the government kind of judge schools on that, for those of you who might not be aware. And it's a really clear framework of what the young people should experience in school. So again, went back to the aims of the school. When I was planning this project, I went back to the aims of what the School Academy Trust wanted, which are there: community, resilience, pride in where they lived, links to careers, raising cultural capital, link back to good old Ken again, those 8 competencies. I wanted that to be embedded within this project. So the project that I did is with that group of young people, I took them to an art gallery that had a contemporary art exhibition on at the time. And when I first took them in, half of them went, "Oh, what's this? Oh, anyone can do that." You know, your typical response. But when I took them into that gallery, which they rarely went into, even though it was on their doorstep, they never went in because they didn't feel comfortable going in because they didn't think it was for them. Going into this exhibition instilled compassion within the young people that I took in there, and it helped them to understand the stories of the work on display. So the artist there is called Labena Hamid, and she created work about slavery in Manchester and the cotton mills in Manchester, and that led them to talk about the steelworks in Sunderland and talk about their community and how they were affected when the factories shut down in Manchester. They were affected by when the steelworks shut down in Sunderland. So it kind of went on this kind of magical journey of just local history discovery, and they were talking about their families, and it was just really magical. So from them going into the space and thinking, "Oh, I could do that," or whatever, taking them in with the sheets that are actually in your packs as one, just on that sheet there with the big face on with the different questions, getting them to go into the space with those techniques I've just showed you with the different words, and then making it a bit more structured with the worksheets. It really helped them to understand the artwork and the importance of that. I got the young people to work with the local primary school. So again, I suppose if you're working with further education, this could maybe be something where you work with like the local secondary schools. So the young people worked with the primary school students, and they planned workshops to teach the young people about contemporary art. So a lot of the young people, remember, there was a lot of young people who were really, they wouldn't talk in front of the rest of the class. They had a lot of emotional issues, mental well-being issues, and every single student stood up, planned a workshop, and taught the young people from the primary school themselves. They resourced it, they planned all, they made all of the examples that they wanted the young people to do. They spoke to the teachers from the primary schools as well. So they said that they developed their communication skills, and they felt a lot more confident as well. And they felt really proud to be from the city that houses this exhibition too. Not only did the young people show the primary schools around the exhibition and explain the contemporary art pieces to them, they also invited their families from the local area. So again, looking at that sense of community. So how can you get the community involved in supporting young people's education? Because a lot of the families that we were working with, they didn't have a very positive experience with school. So it's just trying to develop those links with local families, and if they can be involved in a project and they can actually come into a local space and use the local services with their young people, and the young people are confident in saying, "Oh, look at this gallery, like this is ours, this is our local area, like let's be proud of it." It was just a really powerful project. And there's some data there. So 80% felt that studying the artist changed their perceptions on particular issues. So they were talking about obviously like local history, and they were talking about racism, mental well-being, like the plight of refugees at the time in the area. And there was a lot of collaboration as well between the different agencies, so the cultural venues, the primary schools and the secondary schools. When I collected the data for this project, before we started the project, I asked them to rate their skills, and every single young person's the skills that are on there. So there's things like teamwork, scored really, really highly as a result of this project. It gave them a confidence boost, it improved their timekeeping. So I got them to fill in a sheet before they started this project, and then at the end, and every single child improved on every single skill on there. So they are you know, skills that we want every young person to have to go out into the world of work with, or the big wide world, not just work. And also this linked to the Gatsby benchmark. So this helped with the, we got the Careers Award as a school. So this highly helped towards that. So 4, 5 and 6, so linking curriculum to careers, encounters with employers and employees, experience of workplaces. So it's like they were actually working in the gallery. So thinking about like how you can link in those career links as well to get back in for your projects. And then they had an exhibition, which was in the city centre. So the aim was to get them to feel proud of where they lived and to go to the cultural venue. So they had their work in the venue. And this is something that used to work a lot, where the venue, lots of venues will put your young people's work on display, and they're very keen to work with young people. So it's just really proud, like it just makes them really proud of the work that they've done, because it's hundreds of people will see their work. And you can see some really positive data on there. So saying, the young people saying that they pushed themselves out of their comfort zone, they felt more connected to the community, they felt proud of where they lived. And I don't think many senior teams would argue that that is a negative thing. So it's just about, when you're planning your external visits, thinking about how can you provide data that they just can't argue with. And I don't think many people would argue against this data. So some key things to take away from this. So just think about what ideas you might have collated to ensure external visits are implemented into your long-term planning. So obviously I know we're almost at the summer break now, so it's quite a nice time to kind of think like, what would you like to do for next year? Can you contact anyone before the summer to get some plans in place for September onwards? Can you approach your senior team now and say, I'm thinking about this, can I just block out some time in the calendar, please, ready for next year, and I'll let you know in September what I'm doing. You adapt any of these creative approaches to encourage student conversation and deeper thinking among the young people that you work with. So hopefully the task sheets that you get after this session, hopefully you might be able to try some out. It would be really nice to hear how you get on with those. And could you make any transferable skills clear to build confidence in young people and raise aspirations? So all of the transferable skills I talked about, like compassion, resilience, team building, how can you make your external visit have those in and make that really clear to the young people and the senior team who need to okay them? So just a few things to think about there. Does anyone have any questions? I feel like I whizzed through that. Thank you so much for listening. We'd really appreciate your feedback, please. So there's a QR code on your screen now. So please take a few minutes to complete our feedback form. We appreciate your feedback to help us make improvements. Please note that a digital credential is available for this session on request. A digital credential is a portable representation of a certificate that you can add to your professional development portfolio. We have mapped the criteria for this session to the DFE and ETF professional standards. If you would like a digital credential, please let us know in the feedback form by providing your name and email address and giving consent for us to share these with Learning Vault, our digital credentials provider, for the sole purpose of sending your digital badge. So if you could fill that feedback form in, that'd be amazing. Thank you.